Time to break this down. And this part of the show is brought to you by playbooksports.com. And we are going to start, as we always do, with the picks. So the picks are up. You can see my picks. Jared doesn't know my picks. And then there's Jared's picks right there. As you can see, Jared's got Tyrrell Hatton. And even though I don't have Hatton in my picks, as I've said before, repeatedly, it's very rare that we'll pick the same player. So I decided not to go with Hatton. I would have, but I figured, okay, he's got him covered, so I'll go somewhere else. And there's a couple of guys I went with there in his stead. So, all right, now let's break this down. I tell you what, let's first of all start with the top seed, Scheffler. So we'll start with this. Now, you know what? I think right off the bat, it's really not. Let's just put it this way. I would actually rather have, as well, I shouldn't say that. Well, I think overall that quarter group, that quarter of the bracket, I'd rather have Rahm's quarter of the bracket than Scheffler's. I think Rahm's 4 are tougher right out the gate. But once you get through that, I think Rahm's in pretty good shape. We'll go through that. But Scheffler, he does have to face Noren in the same group. And Noren is one of the sleepers. There's about 5 sleeper match play guys you got to keep an eye on, and Noren's one of them.
Noren's one of them. Tom Kim, even by the seeding, is the best, B group guy. And then even Davis Riley's trending in the right direction at this point, coming off a solid showing.
That's true.
And Valspar. It's funny. I actually think Scheffler and Rahm got 2 of the hardest groups in the entire thing. And listen, I'm still picking both of them to advance out of there, but it's going to be tougher than it could have been for them.
Yeah, look at Noren. So Noren, 21-9 in singles matches, because we're also including whether or not they played in the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup, so forth. 9-3 in his last 12 at WGC Austin. He lost in the semis in 2018, and he lost to Kisner, who's like a genius in this event. And last year, his only loss in the first grouping was to Corey Connors, who is another sleeper match play guy to keep an eye on. So Noren, it would not be a surprise in this format if Noren was able to knock off. I would say that if I was picking a second player, I would pick Noren because I don't know what we have yet in Kim, and Noren obviously a lot more experience than Riley.
I do think it's a good course for Tom Kim. This is a shorter position. This is another Pete Dye course, by the way, which I don't know we've talked about a few times already this year. I do think it's a good course for Tom Kim. But I'm with you. If I wasn't picking Scheffler out of this group, I would go with Noren because of that match play record. And he's having a pretty good season.
All right, I'll tell you what we'll do is, before we move on, let's see, where do we have it here? There we go. Let's just quickly show the one stat you have. Top 10 in birdies or better gain the last 12 months. So you can see, and all of those players, by the way, all 10 of those players are all like 10 of the top players in the world.
Yeah, and I looked at this stat this week because I do think making birdies is important to win match play matches. Right? I'd rather have I'd rather have the more volatile scorer that's going to make a few birdies, throw in a bogey, than someone who's just going to go par. Because that often, the pars aren't going to win you holes very often. So Cam Young was the one guy that stuck out to me on this top 10 list, coming in at 5. Ahead of Cantlay, ahead of Homa, ahead of Xander. So that I did bet Cam Young, and this is one of the reasons why.
Some other trends just to go over. This is I'm surprised by this. Americans have won 5 straight and have been runner-ups in the last 4. So they've dominated this golf course. And, you would think all the best players from international players are here. So why aren't they finishing this job? I don't know. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then I'm not going to worry about the ranked players because we went over the seedings and the ranked players are going to be pretty high as well. Also, this I think is interesting. 6 of the last 8 first-time winners made a previous semifinal appearance, with 3 of those making a previous final appearance, including 2 of the last 3. So that now, thank goodness it's not 100%, because that would well, maybe it would be good, would narrow down the field a little bit more. But that's wow, that's basically telling you that the majority of the players that have won, especially at Austin, you've been there before. You've been at least at the semifinals before winning. That's and we just told you how volatile and tough it is to win these things.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was a little bit surprised by that.
And, I mean, match play is just a different beast. It really is. So I do think looking at career match play records is definitely something you want to do this week.
Yep. And 7 of the last 8 winners scored either a win or a runner-up finish on tour prior to winning this event. So, I mean, that's significant. Either a win or runner-up. And Scottie Scheffler won twice last year before winning. So, a couple of interesting trends. All right, let's move on. Now, here's another reason why I think it's going to be tough for Scheffler. Because I think that the one guy I don't think he wants to see early is Tommy Fleetwood. Because Scottie Scheffler has only lost twice in match play. He lost the runner-up in 2021, went on to go undefeated after the grouping stage last year to win the championship. But who did he lose to in the grouping? Tommy Fleetwood. So Fleetwood is the only guy to beat Scottie Scheffler prior to a final in which he lost in 21. So, and Fleetwood, as you said, he's playing some really good golf as he is. And so Fleetwood is in the group with him, Poston, and McNeely. To me, McNeely is the other wild card in this group. I think he's a player that, from what I've seen a little bit of his past history in college, I think this has been a good format for him. And he played last year and did a pretty good job. I think last year, overall, he was 2-0-1. And I forget who he lost to come out of the group. But that's almost like we just said. It's he couldn't go undefeated, and that's what he needed to do in order to come out of the grouping last year.
Right. Yeah. And maybe with McNeely, he still hasn't found his game again. You even look at the stats, and he's lost on approach in 3 straight. Now he's putting awesome, and he is a good putter. And you do need to that's another thing about match play. I think you do want to look towards good putters because you need to make putts to win holes. Yep. Yeah. So that's why guys like Morikawa and Zalatoris, who I usually bet, I'm less interested this week just because of the format. But I do like Fleetwood to come out of this group. I remember him having a good Ryder Cup. I don't know if it was the last Ryder Cup or 2 Ryder Cups ago. He has a winning record in singles match play for his career. So, and he's obviously, again, like we said, playing well right now.
Yeah, he's my 3rd pick. So Tommy Fleetwood at 45-1 is my 3rd choice this week. All right, so we both have Scheffler and Fleetwood.
Yep.
And obviously he's my 3rd pick, so I went with Fleetwood. And a part of it to me is because also because who knows? I mean, maybe Noren can upset Scheffler. It's possible. I think Scheffler has the more difficult player in his group than Fleetwood does. Because I think agree. McNeely might be the toughest, and that's not saying a whole lot because he doesn't have anywhere near the experience Noren does. In the bottom half of that, by the way, you would have Scheffler
over Fleetwood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you would have him in the quarters.
Yep.
And by the way, remember what we talked about. About that's 16, because that's the 8. Because in Austin, there have never been more than 5 top 10 seeds that have made it to the Sweet 16. So I hope you've already looked at that, and they don't have 9 top 10 seeds because it ain't gonna work that way.
I wouldn't do that.
No. All right. Next up, Hovland, Kirk, Kim, and Kuchar is a very tough group, I think, because Kuchar is a lethal match play artist.
Yep.
Kirk is actually pretty good, and Hovland looks pretty good at this as well. Siwoo Kim can't be chopped liver, so this is a really tough group.
Yeah, and here's where I'll get crazy on you. I'm taking Siwoo Kim out of this group. He's a Pete Dye specialist. I know he's won it. He's won at the Amex, I believe. He's done well at Harbour Town. And he's just that volatile player I kind of want to be on in match play. He can make a ton of birdies. Siwoo can, and he'll make bogeys too. But again, I'm more interested in the birdies in this format. So I'm going to take Siwoo out of this.
I don't think anybody that comes out of that group is off ball. Anybody I think can do it, and that's why I'm taking Kuchar. You know, because Kuchar, just his record is nuts. He is 13-3-2 in his last 18 singles matches. That's incredible. And he hasn't won since what? 2013. So that stretch we're talking about does not include a win. So he was third in 2021, runner up to Kisner in 2019. So yeah, I think Matt Kuchar's playing okay. I know he's missed his last couple of putts, but I'm not worried about that. He's actually had a pretty good season so far. So I think he's dangerous. Especially for the 59th. Yeah. He's like one of those typical 59 guys that we see coming through here.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think he's playing okay. That's a good way to put it. He's actually playing better coming into this year than he was last year. I mean, he has a couple top 10s already this season. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think I could see any of these four coming out of this pod.
Yeah, Hovland, let's see. He was, last year he lost in the Group 1 playoff to Zalatoris. Otherwise, he would have advanced. And then the other one is Kirk. And Kirk actually has a pretty decent track record, 6-2 in his last 8 singles matches. But he has not played since 2016. And when he played in 2016, he lost in the quarters to Rory McIlroy. So we know Kirk is actually, of course, having a pretty good season with the win. All right. And then we've got Morikawa, Day, Svensson, and Victor Perez. And this is a pretty tough group as well. I wouldn't put it as tough as the one we just talked about because Svensson's an unknown. But Victor Perez had a run a couple of years ago all the way to the semifinals. And he just won about a couple of months ago on the European Tour. We know how good Jason Day is in match play. Now, it's been a while since he's been that good. But then again, this is the first year that Jason Day has been as good as we have seen him play in years. Yep. So... Yeah. If that translates back to his really good match play, then he's going to be awfully dangerous. And then you got Morikawa. So who are you going with?
Yeah, this is Morikawa or Day for me. Svensson, for as many times as I've bet the guy, I know he struggles with those short putts, and I worry about that in match play. And I just think, like you said, Day loves the format, playing well. Morikawa, playing well. I don't love him in the match play format. So I'm gonna go with Jason Day here, but obviously not be surprised if it ends up being Morikawa.
Yeah, I'm also going with Day. And then again, if you just take a look at Jason Day overall, 25-16 in singles, just 1-7 in his last 8 WGC events, as we said. But he is a 2-time, not just one, but and he's won on 2 different courses, 2-time match play champion. So I agree with you. We'll just stay here. So I'm going to have Day beat Kuchar and Day beat Fleetwood. I'm going to put Day in the semis.
So I have Day over Siwoo Kim. I'm going to have Scheffler over Day.
All right. So there's Jared's one and only top 5 seed in the semis because he can't put another one in there.
Oops.
All right, let's move on to the semifinal group that would be taking on Scheffler or Day. By the way, Day is a 32nd seed. I also like the sound of that because that just fits perfectly. The 32nd seed, of course, he's going to the semis. He's got that number. Perfect. All right. So who would they face? Well, let's start with Cantlay. And yeah, I can't be too afraid of Cage Lee or Nick Taylor at this point. Harman is the only one. The problem is he's playing terribly.
Yep.
And if he was playing well, I could see an upset here, but I can't imagine. It's not like Harman could be like Kisner. See, Kisner's playing terribly, but we know how Kisner can just light it up on match play, and it's not a big deal. But Harman has been good in match play, but he's not Kevin Kisner good.
Harmon's played 8 events so far this season. He's lost strokes on approach in all 8 of them.
I dumped him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, that's tough to do. So something's broke with him right now. Again, I think this is one of, if not the easiest groups that Cantlay drew. So I have Cantlay coming out of this.
Yeah, that's again. It was like, who could he lose to? You just this is, this is even easier than the first two we just talked about, Scheffler and Rahm. They're probably going.
Yeah, I think so.
How come he gets that group? All right,
Yeah, exactly.
So we both have Cantlay. That's an easy one. By the way, it's another top 10 seed. So next up is Burns, Power, Scott, and Hadwin, which is, it's an average kind of grouping, a little bit below average because Scott is not really playing well this year, even though he's a pretty good match play player. Hadwin has had his moments. Power had a really good go at it last year, and that's the reason I'm taking Power. He's a 30th. He's his 30th seed. He was 3-2 last year before he lost to Scotty Scheffler in the quarters. So that's not bad to go to the quarters and to lose to the eventual champ Scheffler. So I'll take Power in this group.
I think this is one of the weaker groups. I don't think there's a clear favorite in this group. Burns, looking at his numbers, he is kind of trending back in the right direction, which I'm happy to see because I love Sam Burns, but I still don't think he's totally there yet. I think he's definitely a susceptible 1 seed here. I'm going with Seamus Power out of this group as well.
All right, so there you go, 30 seed Power. So Power, Cantlay. I'm taking Power. I know you're going with Cantlay, but. Like I said, history is telling me that all these top seeds are not going through. So this is a spot where I can see it happening because of Power, what he did last year. So, but you're going to go ahead and take Cantlay, making it to the quarters. Let's go to the bottom of that bracket, and Max. This is the Homa bracket, and Max has got to be saying, "Screw you! You put me in with Kisner." How can you do that, man? So, I mean, Matsuyama, I'm not worried about him. Sue might be dangerous.
Yeah.
But Kisner, I mean, the only saving grace for Homa is probably the fact that Kisner, if you look at it, he really is playing bad.
Horribly.
Yeah, so sort of like Horschel. Horschel is excellent at match play, but is playing just awful. So how bad can you play and then just go to match play and do something? I'm so divided on this, and I'm telling you right now, the only reason, and I'm not moving him on past this, but the only reason I put Kisner in is because not only his record, but because I'm just not putting another top 10 seed in here. Somebody's got to lose, and this is the perfect little group to have somebody lose at, is to have Kevin Kisner come in. But Homa, I know he hasn't done it yet. But don't you think he should be really good at this?
Yes, I think he is going to be an excellent match player. We obviously like Homa on POA. He's a much better putter on POA than this surface he'll be on here. Man, if Kisner does this, I'll be shocked. My stats go back to like 2012, and I can't find a stretch where he's played as bad as he. I mean, he's gone. Let me scroll back up here. Miscut, 75th miscut.
Yeah.
His last 5.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yep. I do think I think it's Hideki if it's not Homa here. Who Hideki did show signs of life at the Players, was it, or was it Bay Hill? Yeah, at the Players. So I think he's rounding back in form. I'm actually going to take Hideki out of this.
Really?
Group. Yes.
Well, he's just 2-5-2 in his last 9, and we know he hasn't really been the player he has been over the last few years.
Yep.
So, but again, you can't take them all, and you're going to have upsets. So this will be your upset here, Matsuyama. But look, again, I definitely believe that Homa, I mean, he was another guy, another one where I was like, the only reason that I'm not even considering him in a way for one and done is because I just think, first of all, again, I know he's playing bad, but just putting him in with like the
The
match
killer.
play killer in
Yep.
just the same group, and then having to come out of there and still take on a couple other players before you would even get to maybe a semifinal. It's just I think it's asking a lot, but it would not surprise either of us if Max Homa even won this thing, because it's
sure.
an event that's really tailor made for him. All right, and by the way, Homa's what, 20-1? I think so,
around there.
right?
Yep.
So not bad. All right, now we get to the last group, and this is a pretty simple group because Shane Lowry stinks at this, and Montgomery is new. Hughes is actually the one that that Spieth probably has to worry about, because if you look at Hughes, 2-1 last year, but just like Kisner and Horschel, Hughes is playing awful, and Jordan Spieth is playing pretty good. Now I wonder. You tell me, because I was thinking about this. Is Jordan Spieth, because we saw it again at Valspar, we saw his scorecard, especially on Saturday. We've seen his scorecard like that quite a bit, even though he's getting better, as strange as it is result-wise. Do you think that crazy up and down sort of scorecard is a better thing for him in match play?
I do, because if he makes a double bogey, it'll only cost him a hole. Plus, I just think Spieth, short game, the putting, that's kind of what you want in match play. So I do think this should be a good format for him. He's a Texas guy, so it's a home game for Spieth.
That helps too. So he's got the crowd behind him.
I really want to take Lowry out of this group because he's playing so well. But like you said, what is he, 8-18, I think, in match play for his career across all events?
Oh, Lowry? Lowry is pretty bad. Lowry, where do I have Lowry?
Yeah, which I guess makes some sense because the guy can't putt. But the ball striking has been awesome for the past month now. But I'm gonna take Spieth out of this group.
Yeah, Lowry 8-18. Yeah, Spieth hasn't been great lately, but just like we said with Day, the last few years haven't been great for Spieth. So I don't really care about that because overall he's 15-15. So the fact that he's only 1-4 in his last 5 and 7-10 in his last 21 shows you that he did get off to a pretty good start when he was one of the best players in the world. So he can do it. So yeah, so I like Spieth. Matter of fact, Spieth, what do I have here? So I have Spieth making it to the quarters and going up against Power. So I'm going to stop there because I have both these guys. So I have Spieth as my second choice at 25-1, and Power is my fifth. I put $5 on him at 80-1. So I have both of them. You have Cantlay and who?
Cantlay and Spieth.
Okay.
I'm taking Cantlay to win that matchup. I considered betting Spieth too at 25-1.
There's another top 5 seed there for Jared in the semis.
I know. Sorry, apologies. I just have a feeling about Spieth at Augusta. But as of now, he's
playing like this. Yeah,
he's like 18-1, which I cannot bet. Maybe when the odds reset that week, it'll be 25, and I'd consider him. But he seems to be trending towards it.
Yeah, what we'll do is, this may not be a bad idea. Is next week, maybe what we'll do is do a segment, because we were going before the show. We were thinking of when are we going to do the Masters preview, because we did the what was it, Players preview early.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. And obviously the earlier we put the previews out, better it is for everybody, and we get more viewership, and that's great. We don't get the results of the weekend, which sucks, but it is what it is. So what we were thinking is, all right, Masters, we know we're going to get most of the odds. They're going to change, but we'll get the general idea what the odds are because they're out. And we know the golf course. We got that. So we have everything prepared for us, except, the odds are going to change a little bit. So when do we do the show? So maybe the best thing for us to do is do a 15-minute segment next week where we do an early Masters preview.
Sure. Yeah.
Because everybody's going to want to know as early as possible.
Yeah, we can do Valero pretty quick next week. So it's going to be a crap field. So
yeah. So and then I'll take that 15-minute segment and post it individually as an early Masters preview. Because by the way, this gives everybody the opportunity as well, because they don't put the futures out there for no reason. You might want to take advantage of early odds that you see. Hey, you know what? Before they change, let me get them now. or you might say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna let me parlay this into the college basketball tournament or something like crazy like that. So,
Yep.
all right, so you have Cantlay and I have Spieth. And again, they'll match up against Scheffler and Day. So you have Scheffler against Cantlay, and I have Day against Spieth. Let's move on to John Rahm's group. And Rahm, if this was a couple years ago, this would be a really tough group because he has Horschel, who's just like Kisner, except he's also just like Kisner playing awful, and Fowler, who's actually playing pretty good golf, as we know, and is not bad at this. And Mitchell is having a good season. Not that he's some sort of match play specialist, but he's also just a good player. So this is not an easy way out. This is definitely, like you were saying, this would be the hardest part for me to decide to take Rahm. And the only time I could take him all season is taking him and knowing I have to get out of this group, or else it's an early elimination in match play, and that's just the worst thing you want to do for a guy like John Rahm.
Yeah, again, I think this is a really tough group, and like Horschel is the guy I'm least worried about for Rahm.
Yeah.
Like you said, Mitchell's just playing well, and Ricky's playing well. Ricky is not playing like a D group guy here. No. He's playing more like a guy who should be the second guy in a group. So I'm still going to take Rahm out of this group. I'm not going to bet against him. But again, I think it's much tougher than it really should have been for him. He just got a tough draw here.
Yeah, Rahm 13-8 in singles, 5-3-1, last 9 at WGC. Was remember he lost to DJ in the 2017 final, so he does have that trend we're talking about. He's lost in the final. He's been there before, and he also has a pretty good resume overall. And you just get the feeling that one of these years he's going to win this thing. He's just too good at this format to not win. Yep. And if anybody's concerned, the withdrawal that had nothing to do with an injury, it was an illness, so that's long gone. But just statistically speaking, trend speaking, remember the last time he withdrew from an event?
Was it the COVID?
Yes. And you know what happened? The very next event he played, he won the U.S. Open.
Nice.
So
that's right. Yep.
If you're into that sort of thing, that could be a benefit as well. Taking John Rahm. Ricky, 12-8 with 5 ties. So that's solid. Just 0-1-2 in Austin now. He has not played here since the very first year in 2016. So Ricky doesn't apparently like match play. Maybe, I don't know. So that's something to keep an eye, because you would think. That's why I'm thinking maybe the only reason he's playing is because he's kind of forced into playing these big events now. So that could be something to. But again, if it's kind of tough to go against anybody with Rahm and Horschel. Again, just to go over the facts with Billy Horschel and his dominance. Horschel, the 2021 champ, lost to Scheffler last year in the second round after the group stage. Otherwise, who knows what happens to Horschel the rest of the way. And you know what? I didn't even mention, because I should. We talked so highly about him, Kevin Kisner. So here's Kisner's record. In the last 23 singles, 19-4. That's just nuts. He was runner-up last year. He was runner-up in 2018 to Bubba Watson. And he won the championship in 2019, and he's 130-1. That's how you know he's playing poorly for a guy with that kind of resume to be 130-1. All right, let's go to another. I think a pretty easy bracket, but it really all depends on what you think about Cam Young. Now you like Young. I'm a big Young fan, but he hasn't done anything so far in match play, and Connors is the big name here. Because, as we said, he's another one of these sleepers. Connors, last year, I think last year was the first time he played. And he went all the way to the semis. He was 6-1. And he lost to Kisner. So he could be very dangerous. But I did look at it because, you do have to say, well, all right, who do you play? Tell you the truth, he could beat these guys. But I think if he comes out of this, he's never played anybody like John Rahm in one of these events. Yeah. That's a step up. I think he'll get out of here because statistically speaking, last year he just has an edge on Young. But you like Young?
I do. Yeah, I bet Cam Young. Just on Connors first. I don't think of him as someone who'd be a great match play player because he does struggle making putts. He's more someone who just wants to make pars on these tougher courses. So we'll see. It's kind of still a small sample with him in match play, so we'll see if his success kind of continues. But yeah, Cam Young, doesn't have the match play experience. I don't even love this course for him, honestly, because again, it's not a course he can hit driver a ton. But again, we go back to the birdie or better percentage thing. He's fifth best in this field there. He's just playing really well too. He gains off the tee like every tournament that he plays, and he's one of the best drivers in the world. He's gained on approach in 3 straight now. Came 20th at Genesis, 10th at API. So I just like the way he's trending, and I think to me Connors is the only potential stumbling block for him here. I'm not worried about Sepp Straka. I'm not worried about Davis Thompson.
Yeah, that's really puts the grouping down, you would think. But I'm going with Connors. But Young, I completely see what you're going for there. And but like I said, I think if Connors does come out of here, he's going to meet his match in Rahm. I'm assuming. Well, what do? You taking a Young in this one?
I'm taking Cam Young.
All right, he's going against the top 5 player.
And I think Cam Young. We've talked about him.
He could do it.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win something big. He's gonna be a top 10 player, I think, at some point of his career. So I think he can take down.
All right. So if they play each other, Rahm is my first pick this week, and Young is your second pick. So there you go.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we got at least one of our guys guaranteed Elite 8. I'd take that.
That would be helpful. Well, actually, yeah, no, that would be into the semis. If they played each other, we'd have somebody in the semis. That guaranteed that.
No, Rahm and Young would play in the round of 16.
Oh, that's right. The round of 16. I'm looking at the next one because you have Rahm. Yep. That's right. The way I put this, I'm putting I'm like it's right a matchup that I'm putting your pick and my pick together. Okay. So I have Rahm, you have Young, and might as well just go on. Who do you have? Well, we can't go on because we got to go to the bottom. All right.
Yep.
So again, I have Rahm, you have Young. Let's now go to the bottom here of this bracket. And we have another relatively easy group. Actually, this whole bottom half, I said this before. I think once Rahm gets out of this, I don't think it's that difficult. Now, maybe Young, if he has to play him, that would be like the tough one. But these last 8 players, I mean, Zalatoris, Fox, English, and Putnam. Putnam's playing awful. Fox is the wild card because we don't know what he's going to do. And Zalatoris, you just said it, as far as not made for this golf course, and it's not exactly like he's playing lights out. And right. I just think this whole format's terrible for him based on his injury situation last year, which we're still not sold that he's 100%. Yep. But so English is my guy. I figured, all right, I need a long shot, another long shot. So I'm going to go ahead and write English. Matter of fact, English is my 6th pick as well. I put $5 on him at 110 to 1. He's been hit or miss the last 4 events, good, bad. So maybe he's starting to come out of his funk a little bit, not 100% there. And he's 5-4 at the WGC, which is not entirely bad. So he'll be my pick in this group.
Yeah, just looking at English's stuff, like when he's hit, like you said, 12th at Genesis, 2nd at API, it's been all with the putter. He's gained 8.8 strokes and then 7.5 strokes putting. The ball striking hasn't been like horrible. It's just kind of been like subpar. I'm going Ryan Fox out of this group. And I hate picking against my guy Will, but for all the reasons you said, the injury stuff, I don't know if he's going to be able to play this many. If he does want to advance, he's going to have to play a lot of golf over the next 5 days. Don't like the format for him with his putting issues at times, and he's just not back to A+ game. Will Zalatoris still from the back thing, and he made a swing change and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go with Ryan Fox, who kind of sneakily 14th at API, 27th at Players, his last 2 outings. So he's playing pretty well heading into this thing, and I think this group is wide open. I think there's no one real standout here.
And then at the bottom of the bracket, you have another easy one. You got Finau, Kitayama, Meronk, and Bezuidenhout. And the reason this is easy is because if you look at Finau, he has been a disaster. He's only 2-6-2 in his last 8 singles and 2-5-1 in his last 8 WGC. So I don't really think he's going to do much. Kitayama is the wild card because he's playing obviously really well. So you don't know whether or not that's momentum going to help him or. He doesn't have a track record here. Meronk is going to be my pick, Only because of the fact that he did get an opportunity to play in Europe in a match play event style kind of format earlier this year in January. So that helped him out. He's coming off a win not too long ago. Obviously he's in this event because he's playing his best golf. And then because Bazun, who I've talked about before, liking, he is just terrible.
Yeah.
I don't think he's won an event in match play. I think it's like 0-4. So, yeah, this is almost like, to me, it was Kitayama or Moronk, and I just decided to go with another long shot.
Yeah, I'm going to just take Finau here by default because I don't like any of these other three guys.
He's top 10?
I know he is.
You just added a top 10 guy from a terrible group.
That's the only reason why. I did not, like you said, I don't like match play format for Finau. He hasn't done well in match play, but I'm not taking any of those other three guys to advance out of the group.
All right. So I have English over Moronk. So I'll have English going up against Rahm in the quarters. That's where I'll go with Rahm to make the semis. And you have Fox against Finau. So who do you get to take?
I'm going to take Fox to take down Finau.
There you go.
And I'm going to take Cam Young to beat Ryan Fox and go to the Final Four.
All right. There you go. Cam Young, 15 seed, and I have Rahm a 2 seed. So that's the semis of that side. Now let's go to the final quarter bracket. This is Rory's bracket, the 3 seed. And I'm guessing that you're going to have an upset here, only because of the fact that your long shot is Denny McCarthy at 110 to 1. And I don't think that's a totally bad idea. But I went with McIlroy just because he's the clear expert in match play. But I don't really think McIlroy is going to do much more after this because he's got to face Tyrrell Hatton possibly after that. And we both like Hatton a lot. But you decided to go with McCarthy.
I did because he's, I think one of the 10 best putters on the tour. And again, I want good putters in this format, and his ball striking has been good lately, especially at Valspar. McCarthy finished 19th last week. He actually lost strokes putting, which is very rare for him. He gained over 4 strokes on approach. So if he can keep that iron play up and then, get back to what he usually is as a putter, I think he's going to be a really dangerous player in this format.
All right. So McCarthy it is. And is that also a knock on Rory for the way he's playing? I mean, he really only played one good event this year on the PGA Tour. That's it. He hasn't really played that well.
I don't think he's playing his A game right now. I think he's clearly still the best player in this pod. But again, it's match play. McCarthy can get hot with the putter, and I think he could even come out of it.
And then you got Stallings, and then Keegan Bradley. You want to talk about pathetic match play players? There's no one more pathetic than Keegan Bradley. 11 and 6 in his last 17 singles matches.
Yeah,
that is terrible.
Well, I mean, no offense to Keegan Bradley, but there's no one I'd rather have standing over like a 6-foot putt less than Keegan Bradley. That I need him to make.
There you go.
So,
all right, now let's go to Hatton's group. Hatton, Henley, Herbert, and Griffin. Not tough for Tyrrell Hatton. Herbert, I think, might give him the toughest because Herbert, if you take a look at it, he played last year. He went 2-1, and the only reason he didn't advance is he had to go to one of those playoffs, and he lost the playoff to Kanaya. Otherwise, he might have actually made it out of the group. So, but yeah, Tyrrell Hatton. Another reason why we both like him because he doesn't really he shouldn't have a tough time to come out of this group. He's playing lights out. He's pretty decent match play, not great but good. He's 12-10 overall, 3-1 last year. Lost to Power once he came out of the group. But yeah, Tyrrell Hatton. See, that's the reason why when I'm thinking about taking Tyrrell Hatton one and done, the thing with Hatton is you go, all right, well, how do I know Tyrrell Hatton's going to be this hot the rest of the season? How do I know? This might be it. Yeah. This might be his peak because he's not Rahm and Scheffler where he'll be back to being that good. No, I don't know. Maybe this is it. and maybe this is when he's going to win, and then he's going to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's why he's a really interesting one and done candidate.
Yeah, playing well. He's been a pretty good match play guy. I think it's a format that suits him. Just I don't know the guy, but it seems like Hatton would kind of like that, the one-on-one style here. So he was someone I was likely going to bet even before the groups came out, and then when I saw the groups come out, again, I think this is one of the weaker ones. No one really scares me here. Griffin might be playing the best among the three, but he has like no match play experience. Henley just is not going to make enough putts, I don't think, to come out of this group. So yeah, I like Hatton, and I like Hatton as a bet. You can get him anything over 25-1. I think it's solid.
And we're both going to have Hatton beating McCarthy for you and McIlroy for me.
Yep.
All right. And then in the bottom half, the last quarter bracket, we have this is a wide open one in my mind. Now Schauffele, he's okay. He's just average. 3, 4, and 3 in 10 WGC events. So he's just okay. Matter of fact, I believe he was somewhere around 14-1 a couple days ago. And when they redid the odds today, 25-1. So that's a big jump down for Schauffele. And that's not surprising. And by the way, it has nothing to do with this grouping. But I'm taking your boy, Cam Davis, to come out of the group. Okay. He's going to be, because, hey, he's 64. I got to take a 64 guy in there, a couple of those guys. And I think he's a good one to take because he had that really awful run, as you know, with the 5 straight missed cuts. But then the last event, the Players, he goes and he finishes tied for 6th place. So maybe there's something that, look, he could come in here and he could go 0-3, and that was just a 1 week event. But we know he's better than that. So I'm going to go with the angle that he's now fixed something and he's back to being the player that we thought he was when it began, because I don't really think this is a very dangerous group.
Well, this is like my favorite group in terms of guys I like to cheer for.
That's true.
I love Cam Davis. I love Aaron Wise.
Too bad Luke List wasn't in this group.
Yeah, exactly. Davis and Wise are both struggling. It's been sad for me to watch. Even Davis's performance at the Players was like all putting. He was kind of like a neutral ball striker in terms of off the tee and approach. So I'm not ready to say he's back yet. I'm going Tom Hoagie out of this group, who just can get red hot with the irons, and he's really improved as a putter. He's gained in 3 of his last 5 now on the greens, including in one of those he gained over 5 strokes putting. So I don't know. We'll see if it turns out to be a long-term trend or just more of a blip. But if he can just be like an average putter, his iron game is top notch.
Yeah, Schauffele, by the way, no top 5 since the Amex. So he has not been playing his best golf either. All right, so I have Davis, you have Hoagie, final quarter, and you got the unknown factor with Thagala, Spawn's in there, Minwoo Lee and Fitzpatrick. Those are the 2 that I think will be the interesting ones. But I'm going with Minwoo Lee, who's actually going to be my 4th pick this week. I talked about him for a few months, about his European Tour play. Finally comes over, and it took him a week or 2, and then boom, he contended for the Players. So I think the confidence has got to be there. And throw in the fact that Fitzpatrick, I don't think Fitzpatrick has played this poorly in a while. Yeah. He's got 4 missed cuts in his last 6. So he has not played well. Now he's a decent match play player, and including the last couple of years, he lost to Scheffler. He was in the same group as Scheffler last year. Lost in the playoff to Scheffler. Otherwise, who knows? And then lost. Actually, I don't know if it was a playoff he lost to Scheffler or he just lost to Scheffler. But anyway, he couldn't get out of the group. And he was 2-1 in 21 as well. So he was 2-1 in the last 2 years. But he is just not playing well.
Yeah, I don't know if Fitzpatrick's healthy. There's been some neck issues for him.
There you go. It's got to be a reason. Yeah.
Now, I will say last week he made a 9 on a par 4. Otherwise, he played well enough to make the cut. Then who knows what happens into the weekend. But I'm with you. He made a 9.
Yeah, he made a 9. So that's pretty bad.
And like you said, generally he hasn't been playing well for a while now. So I do think fading him in this group is the way to go. Sahith is interesting. I think Sahith is gonna win a match or 2 here because he can pile up birdies. I just don't trust him to play well enough for all 3 matches to get out of here because he is so volatile. I don't love the course for him. It's a tighter course. He tends to get wild off the tee from time to time. So I'm with you. I'm going with Minwoo Lee to come out of this group, kind of by default, I guess.
Okay. So I have Davis against Minwoo Lee, an Australian matchup. I'm taking Minwoo, and you're taking Hoagie or Minwoo?
I'm going Hoagie.
Hoagie.
Going Hoagie.
All right.
Make some putts, Tom.
So you have Hoagie and Hatton. So we're both taking Hatton. I have Hatton and Minwoo Lee.
Yep, I'm going Hatton, Final Four.
Okay. All right. So that means Hatton against Rahm for me, and you have Young and Hatton. So that's good. 14 seed, 15 seed. That makes a little bit more sense. And you're gonna have you're taking Hatton.
I'm going Hatton, and I'm going Cantlay in the finals.
So you're gonna have Hatton and Cantlay.
Yep.
Circle that. Cantlay. Where's your Hatton? There's Hatton. All right. So you have Hatton and Cantlay, and I have Spieth. What do I have? Spieth against. That's right. So you have Cantlay over Scheffler.
Yes.
Wow. I need to see that.
Cantlay
nice over match. Scheffler in match play in Texas. Hey, if he does that, then Cantlay, then I'm glad I hold on to him because we'll take him for the major or something because that'll be the breakthrough when he needs. All right. Yeah. I got Day and Spieth, and I don't even think I even decided who I was going to do there. Oh yeah, that's right, I did. I'm taking Spieth. So I'm taking Spieth, and I'm going to have Spieth. So circle Spieth. I'm going to have Spieth going up against Rahm. And
that'd be a fun one.
I'm taking Rahm to beat Spieth in the final.
That
would be a fun one, wouldn't it? Rahm and Spieth.
That would be fun. I'm taking
that would break some records.
Yes.
That's why we're not going to get it. Who are you taking?
Right. Hatton over Cantlay.
Hatton over Cantlay. Yes,
Cantlay
of course.
Comes up
your
just
top
short
pick.
Again.
I like it. And again, it's looking. I'm starting to talk myself into taking Hatton too in my one and done, because I think you really like what you said is that it's true. I mean, this is as much as even though Rahm's my top pick and I'm picking him to win this thing, anything can happen in this damn format, and I just don't want it. Rahm's going to win again this year. Even if he wins this thing, he's going to win again. And he's probably going to win you would think that the year he's having, he's going to probably win a major. See, that's the thing. When we talk next week about the Masters, when you were saying Spieth at 18-1, and some people might go, oh, actually, that's not that bad. But what I've already seen it because I've looked at it with the one and dones, and we've talked about this before. There are some really good players that have played a lot better than Jordan Spieth at the Masters over the last 3 or 4 years. Really good. Whether it's Scheffler or Rahm or even Morikawa is starting to play really good there. I think Justin Thomas is starting to play better there. I mean, and then we got the live guys coming. You got Cameron Smith. We know how good he can. So
man, I have no idea what to do with the live guys at the Masters. Right? I mean,
that's going to be tricky.
Neiman, I love Neiman. Like Patrick Reed has obviously had, he's had success. I just don't know what kind of form they're in. That's tough to know.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, beginning of the season, I was thinking, there's 1 or 2 places I'm thinking about taking Rory, or 1 of 3 places, and that would have been Masters. Would have been one of them, and it's like I can't take it for the Masters. Not the way he's playing right now, unless he comes out and he plays really well here.
All right. Yep.
Then that's different. But if Rory goes out like you think he's going to in the group. Because that's it. Once these guys are done here, a lot of these guys aren't playing again to the Masters.
Right.
You think that field is going to be as bad or worse as what was that one? Was it the PGA? No, the Honda. Which one do you think is going to be worse?
It would tough to be worse than that one.
Worse?
I mean, it would tough.
Tough to be worse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is Spieth going to play Valero?
Well,
do we know?
Aren't there some players that have that? I like to play the week before the Masters kind of deal.
Yeah, but like with Spieth, how many events would that be in a row for him? That's the
Yeah, he might
concern. He
decide
didn't take
after
any
the
of these.
match play.
Like,
Maybe he'll hold
yeah, he
off
played.
until.
Yeah, so that would be he played API Players Valspar. So he would have played 5 straight weeks leading into the Masters, which seems like a lot.
Yeah, that's another good handicapping tool to keep an eye on. Sometimes I don't keep an eye on it as much as I should,
Mhm.
but the whole idea of how many weeks in a row has a player played, especially as they get older. But yeah, just taking a look last year. Let me just see last year, his match play. He did not play the week before. Match play. Oh,
He
Texas
didn't.
Open was after that though. Yeah, so I wonder what was
Texas
between the
Open.
players and match play last year. So it
Um,
must have been
yeah,
what was that? Yeah, I don't even
but
remember. Change the
I
schedule
mean,
so damn often.
it wasn't Valspar last year.
Uh, Valspar, no, could have been, yeah, because he didn't. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, he didn't play Valspar.
probably Valspar.
Spieth, so it's probably Valspar. Yeah, makes sense. All right, so that is going to wrap it up. We, as we just talked about, again, the picks, we've already shown you the picks, so that's available. You've got our one and dones. You have our, and again, you also have Jason Day. I'm not sure we even talked about that. So Day and Hatton
Yep.
were two guys that you took that I could have myself taken. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the two I really liked on your board. And then on next Monday night, more than likely, when we do the Texas Open, where, like I said, we'll do a segment, an early Masters preview. Not going to be a long one, but we'll just go
Nice.
over like some early analysis on some players to keep an eye on, and maybe obviously we'll take a look at the odds because that's to be the whole idea of doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, who are some guys to take a look at before the odds change on the following Monday. So that'll wrap it up. Jared, good to have you back.
Good to be back.
And
Let's get through these next 2 weeks. I'm ready for Augusta.
yeah, because this week, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, unless our players are in contention, but they hardly ever. I mean, I've never even. I don't think I've even ever come close to winning a match play.
Me either. I usually end up adding a guy like in the Elite Eight just for something to
Yeah, right.
to cheer
And
for
then he
after Knight gets
loses in the
knocked
Elite
out.
Eight, and you're done again. Yeah, that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
can just
thing.
reload, take someone in the Final Four.
Yeah, right. So yeah, this is not going to be pretty because the whoever's going to be the favorite at Texas is probably going to be somebody that's never been a favorite before.
Yeah,
It's probably going to be like Seamus Power or something like that. One of those guys.
Corey Connors. He won there, right? And Connors.
There you
That's
go.
Connors' only win. I would imagine he'll play next week. I would guess.
Corey Connors. There you go.
Yeah.
So that could be a good one. All right. So appreciate your time as always, Jared. And I'll talk to you again next Monday night.
Sounds good. Thanks, Greg.
Don't forget, everybody, subscribe, share the video. That's also really good. And let us know what you think. If you have any questions, comments, or just general observations regarding match play, give us your predictions. If there are any sleepers, anything that you want to add, let us know. Throw that in the comment section, and we'll see you guys next week.